You ever notice how, like, everyone thinks they're a writer,
They've got that bestseller just like waiting to burst out.
right? Well, get ready to dive into a world where those words actually, become books. We're tackling a collection of jokes and stories all about the wild world of journalism, publishing, and literature, the whole shebang.
We're talking Inspiration statt Transpiration, Witze und Sprüche über Journalisten, Press, Verleger und Bücher. Basically, inspiration, not perspiration.
Catchy, right. But also kind of true. Like, sometimes it really does feel like that.
Absolutely. And this collection, it gets that. It finds the humor in all the struggles and quirks of the writing life. Like, take this one. Some authors have what it takes to write. Others just have writing implements.
Ouch.
Right. But it makes you think, doesn't it? Like, how much stock do we put in the tools versus the actual talent?
It's like judging a book by its fancy cover or something. Or I don't know, maybe a really nice
Yeah.
font.
Totally. But then again, we've all been charmed by, like, a handwritten note that's full of heart, even if the penmanship is a little.
Rough around the edges.
Exactly. It's that human element that shines through. And speaking of human elements, this next one cracks me up. An author is someone who only uses periods and commas.
Okay, that's oddly specific, but I kind of get it. It's like that fear of committing to a thought.
Yeah.
Like, just when you think you've got it, you need another comma, another clause.
Or maybe they just really love comma splices.
Maybe. But while we're on the topic of writing anxieties, there's this gem. Why was the author's manuscript used as kindling? Because it was too dry.
Brutal. But amidst all these lighter jabs, the collection takes an interesting turn with some quotes from, believe it or not, Schopenhauer and Nietzsche.
Oh, it's like suddenly we're back in philosophy class.
Right. So Schopenhauer, he reminds us that when we read, another person thinks for us.
And then Nietzsche jumps in with reading slowly, deeply, looking back and cautiously, with reservations, with doors left open with delicate fingers and eyes.
Intense, right?
It's such a contrast to those earlier jokes.
It is. And it makes you think, have you ever, started a book and felt like the author was, I don't know, doing your thinking for you?
Oh, totally. It's like their words are dictating your opinions instead of, sparking your own.
Exactly. And I think that's what Nietzsche's getting at with that quote, like the need for engaged reading, bringing your own experiences to the table. It's not just absorbing, it's a conversation.
A conversation. Yeah, I like that. So, from struggling writers to deep philosophical ponderings, this collection covers a lot of ground. And trust me, it gets even wilder when we move into the world of publishing.
Oh, yeah, the publishing world, buckle up.
Right. This collection does not hold back on the jabs at editors, publishers, all of them.
Oh, they're brutal. But also, kind of spot on. Ready for this one? Why wouldn't the journalist report the birth of a 12th child in the sports section? Because it wasn't a record.
Okay. Wow. Cynical much.
A little bit, right.
Yeah.
But it's that classic journalist mindset, always hunting for the extraordinary.
The headline grabbing story
Yeah.
makes you wonder if they ever just stop and appreciate the everyday stuff.
Well, maybe not if this next one is anything to go by. A reporter thinks all the world's events should conveniently fit into a single newspaper.
Talk about pressure. Can you imagine?
No way. Though speaking of journalists and pressure, did you hear about the one who used a newspaper to scare away an elephant?
Wait, seriously?
That's what this collection says. Chased him off with nothing but, the day's news.
Okay, that's either impressive or just, incredibly lucky.
Right. Maybe both. But while we're talking about finding yourself in interesting situations, we can't forget about the readers out there.
Oh, the readers.
Yeah,
This collection had some gems about them, too.
like this one. I'd like a book, please, the customer says. It doesn't matter what it's about. I have my car.
What does their car have to do with anything?
I think it's more about, that impulse buy mentality. You're in the bookstore, you just got to walk out with something.
Oh, I know that feeling. It's like the
Mhm.
books are calling to you or something.
Totally. But then you've got those readers who are, shall we say, a little more particular. A customer tells a bookseller, I want a book with no love, no detectives, no superheroes, no murders, no millionaires, and no old ladies.
So basically a cookbook.
Right. Apparently the bookseller suggested a train timetable.
Brutal. And then there are those readers who just love to spoil it for everyone. The ones who ask for a suspenseful thriller.
And then tell you the ending before you even open the book.
Exactly. It's like, why even bother reading it at that point?
Right. Where's the fun in that? But
Ah.
it reminds me of this other joke. Picture this. A kid who interrupts their bedtime story to say, Mommy, could you read a little quieter? I'm trying to fall asleep.
Oh, that's good. It's like they've already mastered the art of, like, pretending to be engaged.
Totally. Or maybe they're just really, really tired. Speaking of tired, have you ever run into those readers who are, just a little too cool for school?
The ones who wouldn't be caught dead reading anything, like, even remotely mainstream.
Mhm. Exactly. Like
Yeah.
this guy, someone asked him if he liked Faust, and he's all, it wasn't bad, but I know at least 5 people who could have written something like that.
Oh, come on. Everyone's a critic.
Right. It's like they're more concerned with seeming impressive than actually, enjoying the book.
It's like they're reading for the applause break, not the joy of it.
It's all about the image. But hey, you can't judge a book by its reader, right?
Or by its cover, or how many fancy quotes they can throw around about it. Speaking of judging, this next one's a little dark, but it really makes you think about how much we value stories. Two hikers are standing at the edge of this crevice. Right.
This sounds ominous.
So one hiker turns to the other and goes, "Yeah, that's where my mountain guide fell in last year."
Oh, no.
Dark, I know. But wait, there's more. The first hiker adds, "Wasn't so bad, really. He was pretty old. Plus, he was missing a few pages."
Wow. What does that even mean?
Right, it's like the loss of the stories is worse than the actual person. Have you ever felt that way about a book, though? Like, losing it would be like losing a part of yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Especially those books you've had forever, The ones with all the memories attached.
Yes. Or like the one you spilled coffee on,
Yeah,
and now it's all warped.
the worst. Speaking of memories, this next one is a trip. A guy's reading a book with his wife, and out of nowhere he goes, "This is unbelievable. This Rilke fellow wrote a poem that you wrote for me 20 years ago."
Oh, no way. Is he serious?
Right. Like, is that true love or just a really bad memory? But I don't know. It's kind of sweet in a way, that desire to see yourself reflected in art.
Maybe. Or maybe he just needs to brush up on his Rilke.
Ah,
Speaking of needing to brush up, there's this guy who's convinced he can, like, self-diagnose anything. He's telling his friend, "I don't need a doctor. I treat myself." These days, there are so many medical books who needs a doctor anymore, right?
uh-oh, that's dangerous territory.
And his friend very wisely replies, "Just make sure you don't die from a typo."
So good. It's a good point, though. It's easy to get caught up in thinking we know everything.
Too much internet, maybe.
Maybe. Speaking of bad advice from unreliable sources, this last one's a classic. A mom's scolding her kid for, using some colorful language. And the kid's defense. But mom, Goethe uses that word.
Oh, the Goethe card. That's a new one.
Right. And the mom's response is perfect. Well, then stop playing with him.
Amazing. Going through all these jokes, it really hits you that this collection, it's not just about making fun of the literary world. It's about us.
Totally. It's like holding up a mirror to our own, I don't know, quirks and insecurities about reading, writing, all of it.
It's about finding the humor in the whole experience, right?
Exactly. And appreciating the fact that we're all just kind of figuring it out as we go.
So next time you're feeling a little too serious about your reading list, or you catch yourself judging someone else's taste in books.
Take a deep breath and remember to laugh a little.
Because sometimes the best way to appreciate the power of a good book is to just laugh at ourselves and our, let's be honest, sometimes slightly ridiculous love of words. And on that note, happy reading, everyone.